goods up the political and judicial agendas. In a paper presented before the 6th Global Congress on Combating Counterfeiting and Piracy, held last Feb 3 in Paris, France, Attorney Blanca Flor stated it is part of our responsibility to dispose of seized goods in a way that does not harm the environment. Ipofil broke tradition last year when it destroyed some 1.7 million pesos worth of pirated discs, bags, books, computer parts, and medicines at the PNP headquarters through military tanks, road rollers, garbage shredders, butchers, and slashers instead of the usual open-air burning. After seizure and destruction, Ipofil sent the remains of the infringing goods to power plant operators, crematoriums, and rubber tire factories to use as coal and fuel. Ipofil also cooperated with the Battered Women Association to remove tags, metal components, and other materials from seized goods. In the aftermath of Typhoon Ondoy, retagged and repackaged clothing was distributed to thousands of victims. Junk compact discs were also recycled and converted to everyday items, including household products, building materials, and auto parts. The advantage of all these methods is that they add no additional expense to the government. These methods comply with the Clean Air Act and the International Agreement on Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights. Under the law, Ipofil may also dispose of seized goods by selling them, donating them to distressed local governments or charities, exporting them, or recycling them. Okay, so that's the news update brought to us by the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. For those of you who'd like to join in our conversation, do call us up here at the station, 895-4460 or 897-8374. For those of you who'd like to register your trademarks or patents, do log on to www.ipophil.gov.ph. The IP Philippines is also present in Facebook. Do like them at facebook.com/IP Philippines and also on twitter.com. Joining me this morning is the head of the Arbitration Office of the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines, Attorney Lope Manuel. And earlier we were talking about how can we ensure that arbitrators, unlike our judges, can be corrupted or cannot be corrupted. And according to Attorney June, arbitrators are chosen by the parties. Of course, they have the right to be compensated for their efforts through contract or mutual agreement by the parties. And by mutual agreement, it includes choosing who will be your judge or arbitrator. Is that correct, Attorney?
Yes,
Lopez?
that's correct, Sarah. You have the right to choose your arbitrator, and you can choose whoever is part of the pool in the IPOphil pool of arbitrators, accredited arbitrators, and you can review their CV. You can ask people around. You can actually do a research on the person that you wanted to appoint, just to make sure that you are confident with your choice. You can also request the arbitration office in the IPOphil to help you with the appointment.
Okay, Mary Ann, a caller on the line would like to comment. So,
Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
Marianne. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. This is Marianne. I can't help but comment. I was just actually waiting for the show of Jerry Cornejo, and I noticed you're talking about all this IPO thing and anti-piracy. Yes, I was wondering why couldn't the IPO and I think the Optical Media Board, the OMB, maybe do something more substantial than just always having to catch this piracy merchants and just, it's like if you've been to all like in Makati Cinema Square there, it's a yearly thing. It's like they always do it and they go back, so
Yes,
nothing
it
is really
happens
solved.
again.
They pay whether it's burning, whether it's getting a tractor, whatever they spend for it, but it's still there. So
It's still
who are
around.
we trying to fool here? And we know for a fact that other politicians use these as tools for their media mileage, right? Sometimes they have politicians around just to get their faces on the news, and that's it.
Yes, that's
So,
right.
my theory, not theory, actually, others already believe that this piracy is going on because it's actually a karma for greed. And the greed of who? Those who produce all these
These fake
DVDs
items,
and
yes.
everything, they charge so much. I hope the IPO and OMB would study what happened in the U.S., there was a case filed back in the 90s by the before the FCC. And the FCC's findings, it was a recording industry a recording company who filed a case that there's this group pirating their products, etc. And then the FCC later on found out that these products can actually be sold a lot lesser or a lot lower at
For a
cost.
lower price.
Right?
Yes.
It can be so. They said it's possible to pull down your cost. So their ruling was for the recording company to pull down their cost.
All right.
You see? So why doesn't IPO and OMB do something
To that
trailblazing
effect, yes.
by thinking of ways to maybe have propose an EO or a law where when all these imported DVDs, record and companies, etc., when they plan to sell in the Philippines, like maybe put a cap on their cost. Because admittedly, even if there was an original DVD there selling for
A lower
100,
price.
150, I'd go for that
You'd go for
anytime.
that.
But
Okay.
for Pete's sake, 800, 1,500, forget it, man. It's greed. So
Yes.
maybe.
So we'll definitely suggest that to the
Yeah,
IPO.
no,
They'll think
if
out
they're
of the
there now, I
box
hope they're
in order-
listening. Think of some new ways of solving this. They keep doing the same thing, but the problem is always there, so it will never be solved. Okay? It's
All
so
right. Thank you,
stupid.
Marianne. Yes,
Okay,
we'll
bye-bye.
take it into consideration. All right, that was Marianne suggesting
Yes,
to
that
our
was very powerful.
authorities to
Yes.
think of alternative ways of stopping piracy.
Yes.
And it's good that we have all of you out there who would want to buy originals
Yes,
instead of the fake products.
If I may just comment, Sarah, Marianne, just to give you an assurance, we're doing the best that we can. And in fact, you should be informed also that the IPO field doesn't have an enforcement power right now. And we had been cooperating with the Optical and Media Board to do a lot of work related to enforcement. And our office has been recognized internationally by our efforts to enforce IP rights, in fact, in spite of the fact that we don't have the enforcement power. And we must commend, of course, our Director General, Ricardo Blancaflor, for doing that and for pioneering that project. And just to give you a short background also, Marianne, we do policy work in the IPO field. Like the ones that you were suggesting right now, we can actually discuss it in a small group discussion within the IPO field, especially with the executive committee. And right now, we're pushing a lot of different projects, and of course, we'll take that into consideration.
Yes. Okay, so we've run out of time. Again, we'd like to thank everyone for listening to Piracy Watch, and we'd like to thank Attorney June Manuel for joining us this morning to talk about arbitration as an alternative dispute mechanism to all of you out there who have cases pending with the IPO bill. Do consider arbitration as an alternative to resolving your cases. Again, this has been Attorney Sarah J. Sugitan. Join us again next Tuesday for another edition of the Piracy Watch.